Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be reading 3 new romance releases that I am so excited about. This is going to be a semi-recurrent video type on my channel. I'm just switching things up here, trying to find fun ways to bring more romance content to you, and I thought what better way to do that than regularly vlogging about the romances that I'm just really hyped about, books that are coming out this year, and letting you know like what you should read and what you should maybe steer clear of if, you know, my reading vlogs don't go as planned. So I've selected 3 semi-recent romance releases to vlog with all of you. Books that I'm really hyped about and a couple of books that have showed up on my like most anticipated list of 2023. So without further ado, let me tell you what books we're going to be reading for this year video. I'm sure you could tell by the thumbnail, but I thought I'd walk you through them anyway. First up, we have Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the 3rd book in the Dreamland Billionaire series, which follows 3 billionaire brothers who are trying to obtain their inheritances, but they have to kind of jump through some hoops left by their grandfather to do that. This book follows Cal, the middle brother, who's kind of the life of the party, and I'm really excited to see his like second chance romance with his childhood best friend. So very excited to give this one a go. Tentative because I've heard mixed things about it, mostly that it's like a little darker than the other books, which surprises me because this is supposed to be like the fun-loving hero. We'll see that for ourselves. Next is I think the newest release. This one I think got released in the latter part of January, so it's not that fresh. One that is super fresh is Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. I think this came out just a couple of days ago. I was so excited when I saw that there was going to be another book in this series. In the Red Zone Rivals series, this is a football sports romance series, and Hail Mary in particular I think is another second chance romance. Okay, wait, are all of these technically kind of second chance romances? I'm sensing a theme here. This one is about Mary and Leo. We find out about both of their characters from the last book, and we know there's some history there. Excited to find out what that history is. I'm just excited to dip my toes into another sports romance because y'all know how much I love them. And then we have Do I Know You by Emily Webberly and Austin Seidman Broca. They are an author writing duo that I really love. I loved The Roughest Draft, and now I'm excited to get into their second novel, which is a second chance romance about 2 people who are married but kind of going through a rough patch. I also have an audiobook copy of this that I've already started listening to, and I'm very excited to be able to, I guess, mix formats. And also, I'm just excited because I'm gonna have my eyes free to play my new favorite game, Block Blast. It's a simple game that I play whenever I want to kill a little bit of time, or whenever I want something to do with my hands when I'm listening to books, which pretty much always happens. I love audiobooks. They're one of my favorite ways to consume books, but like, I need something to occupy my mind while I do it. I love Block Blast because it's a game that all ages can enjoy. It's so addicting, and I love that whenever I play, I can escape reality. The game is pretty simple. Basically, you drag blocks onto the board to fill a row or a column so you can eliminate that color of blocks from the board. And when you clear multiple rows or columns at once, you get a really satisfying animation and some really nice sounds. I'm really picky about my haptics and sounds in games. It can either like really make or break a game for me, and I personally hate having to turn off sounds in games, but I don't do that with Block Blast. It's not like distracting, it's really nice and really satisfying. It's a phone game that really helps me to relax and to train my brain at the same time. And it's a game that I really think a lot of my fellow readers will love. I know a lot of y'all like to play games on your phone while you're listening to your audiobooks, and trust me, Block Blast is one that you're gonna want to download immediately. So if you do want to join the Block Blast family and you want to download it for yourself, you can use the QR code on the screen, or you can click on the link down in the description down below to download it for yourself. Thank you to Block Blast for sponsoring this portion of today's video. Now let's get into the vlog portion of today's video. All right, so I decided to pick up Do I Know You first because this is the book that I'm like the most excited about. Usually I like to save the best for last, but I was feeling it, and it's the shortest of all of them, which is good because it's like a little bit late on Tuesday. Where to begin? This book's about our main characters, Eliza and Graham. They are a married couple, and they are going through kind of a challenging time in their marriage, and I like that we're instantly thrown into the middle of it. They are going to a anniversary trip that was gifted to them by one of their parents. I can't remember if it was like his parents or her parents, but they gifted them a week-long vacation on the Northern California coastline, and they're supposed to, you know, just have a good time and celebrate their love. But they have had a little bit of a rocky time over the past couple of years, and it's not like anything super contentious has happened or that there's like some major conflict that's occurred, but they are just finding that if you don't put a lot of time into your marriage, things can kind of bring you apart or like keep you from knowing your spouse as deeply as you would like to. They don't have the, you know, really intimate marriage where they talk about their feelings and stuff. Is kind of what it seems like to me. At the beginning of the story, we have Eliza's point of view as they are kind of driving along the coastline. They're going on a road trip to their vacation, and she's kind of like testing him along the way and trying to see kind of what this vacation is going to be for the both of them. She asks him if he wants to get milkshakes, and initially he says no, and she is like, wow, okay, I don't know how this is gonna go, but then quickly recovers. He's like, no, I don't want milkshakes, I want banana milkshakes. I guess it's some sort of like inside joke or something for them. She decides that she is going to read an audiobook or record an audiobook. She's an audiobook narrator, that's her job, like a sexy audiobook narrator, and she's going to record a sample in the car for her boss, and she's hoping that this might like awaken something in her husband and get him to like kind of view her sexually, but it just makes him uncomfortable. And you can already just see that the relationship's tense. They have a history, and the way that these two authors were able to accomplish that so quickly in that first chapter, I was like, oh, okay, things are tense. That happens. And then we get Graham's point of view quickly after, kind of explaining to us how he feels about his wife. And he is obsessed with this woman. He is enamored with her. He thinks that she is just stunning and beautiful and way too good for him. And I think that is maybe the root of some of their problems. Y'all know how I feel about a semi-pathetic hero. Like, it's just kind of my thing. I love that. The way he talks about her and the way that he kind of puts her on a pedestal. It'll be interesting to see if he kind of works through some of those feelings, but he has a hard time connecting because he's like self-conscious. He doesn't feel like his job is as cool as hers. I think he's an attorney. I just love how nuanced the romances are by this author writing duo. I'm obviously talking a lot just about this first 20%, and that's because there's just so much here to unpack. It's one of those books that I think you can like endlessly analyze, and I find that to be pretty fun. I'm not really a literary fiction girly, but I do appreciate the way that they write romance. I just think it's really fun, and it's nice to know that so far I'm enjoying this just as much as the roughest draft. I think this is a great setup for a book. I do like books with a lot of like melodrama and angst and like built-in relationships. The roughest draft, it was similar, not a married couple, but a similar sort of setup in this one. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm into it. I'm curious to know if Emily Henry's Happy Place will be similar, because it's like a married couple, I think, that broke up and then they have to pretend to be married because they're like hanging out with their friends. This one is just like they're isolated on vacation. But we just got to, I guess, like the premise of this book. Essentially, after a kind of like rocky setup at the hotel where they're going to be staying in different rooms because they accidentally booked 2 rooms instead of 1, Graham kind of like sidles up to someone at the bar, or someone sidles up to him. It's a man, and they kind of like talk about relationships, and I think he might pretend like he's single, or the man like assumes Graham is single, and it kind of sets off a chain of reactions in which Graham and Eliza are going to pretend that they don't know each other, and they're going to go on a series of dates on this vacation. They're pretending to be people that they're not. I think he's pretending he's from like Arizona, she's pretending she's from Boston, and that she has a different job than she has, and I'm just so curious to see how that will help them connect better as a married couple, and just sort of like what that will look like. So anyway, been rambling way too long, but also like I'm very excited for this book, and I think it sounds like a good one. So far so good, and I love to see that. I always have bad luck, I would say, with books that I'm highly anticipating, but so far so good. I got 60% in before the sun sets, which I'm proud of that. What to say? I'm liking this book, but I'm also simultaneously kind of bored. I like the relationship development, I guess. Like, I like the moments that Eliza and Graham have had together, but I also just don't feel like this is as juicy and as exciting as I wanted it to be. And I think I've kind of identified what it is that worked about the roughest draft that like isn't necessarily working as well here. And I think for me, Marriage in Trouble just isn't my favorite. And the reason for that is that we already know the outcome of the story, which is that they are going to end up together. And I guess you could say that about any romance. That is true. They're going to end up together. But there's not a whole lot of mystery, I would say, with the story, because you know that the whole point is that they're going to pretend to be different people to try to win the other person back. I think if... This sounds bad. I think if someone else wrote this, I would like it. Like, I think if this were done in like an unhoneymooner style, like banter sort of relationship situation, like it would be really fun. But as it is, like I'm just a little bit underwhelmed, and I'm not hating it or anything. Like I still am enjoying it, and I do like the observations, I guess, about being in long-term relationships. I don't find it not relatable, but I don't think it makes for like the most compelling romance, because again, it's like they've already fallen for each other. They already know they love each other. They're about to have sex. So maybe things will change at the 60% mark. At the moment, this is feeling like a 3-star read to me, which is a bummer, because I gave this author writing duo's first adult romance novel 5 stars, but I'm willing, like I'm keeping an open mind. I'm willing to be impressed and surprised by this. So I'm gonna keep reading it. I will update you once I am home from a delightful dinner date. Hello, my friends. Happy Wednesday. I'm in my car because I just had a car picnic, McDonald's little treat yourself moment, and it was delightful. Thanks for asking. I finished Do I Know You early this morning, and I am like 5% into Hail Mary. So I figured we could talk about both of the books. Do I Know You, unfortunately, like did not turn out to be a success. I did end up giving this book 3 stars, and I feel like it really just comes back to the things that I've already talked about. I don't want to talk about it too much longer. But I really think this execution of the story was just like not what I needed it to be. I think for this kind of story to be compelling, to get you to want to continue reading, it needed to be like funny, or just have some other element to the story to add a little bit of conflict or complication. Having 2 characters just not communicate basically the entire book, not fun to read about. And I like a good miscommunication trope. I know some people have like very strong feelings about not liking that. I don't feel that way. I think if it is done well, it can work well. In this story, it was the only conflict in the book was just these 2 miscommunicating, and Eliza was really not forthcoming about about her feelings, especially when it pertained to other members of her family. Like, something was happening with her and her sister, and she didn't tell Graham anything about that, which I thought was weird considering it's almost like an external thing. It'd be one thing if she was just not sharing her like internal emotions about their particular relationship, but like, why couldn't she just tell her spouse about a relationship she has with another member of her family? I don't know. It was all just kind of irritating. Eliza's character was just not my favorite, which is a bummer because I really liked Graham. I thought he was a great hero. I feel like he deserved better than Eliza. It's never what you want to say about a romance. You want to love both the characters equally. But yeah, this was such a disappointment. That sucks because I was really going in hoping this would be one of those anticipated romances that would take me by surprise, in that I would give it 5 stars. Since my anticipated romances never seem to work out. But you know what? You win some, you lose some, and I just unfortunately happened to lose this time. 3 stars isn't bad. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but it was just very middle of the road for me. So let's talk about a book that does not feel like it's going to be middle of the road. Hail Mary by Candy Steiner. 5% in, and I already know where the story is going, and I already know that I'm kind of enjoying it. It's about our 2 main characters, Mary and Leo. We've gotten Mary's point of view for these first 2 chapters, and we are kind of getting flashbacks, I guess. It's set in high school, at least the first couple of chapters are, and then we're going to get a time jump to college. Mary is kind of an unpopular girl at her school. She's not conventionally attractive. She doesn't really have interest in typical girly things, which is something that her mom is not super happy with. But whenever Mary asks for an Xbox game and an Xbox Live membership so she can like play online with people, her mom like begrudgingly says, okay, sure, fine, whatever. Mary makes some online friends. She ends up, meeting some people, and specifically meeting Leo, who she already knows because in real life he is like the star football player at her school, but he doesn't know who she is because she uses like a different screen name. It's like not her actual name. His screen name is like Leo Hernandez, so she knew immediately who he was. Things kind of proceed in the same fashion for a while. Leo is kind of interested in knowing who she is. Whenever they go back to school after the summer of like, playing video games together every day and texting quite a bit, she tries to introduce herself to him by showing him some of her drawings that she's like talked about, and he acts like he doesn't know who she is. And I don't know if it's like to try to protect her or if it was because he was just like trying to impress his friends. I'm not really sure, but he just pretends like he doesn't know her and is kind of a dick to her, and it really impacts Mary's life and it's really upsetting because she doesn't really have a whole lot of friends. So that's sort of the introduction to this book. It's going to be, I think, hard to like overcome that, but I'm very excited to see Leo and Mary come back into contact in college. I think she's gonna have to move in with a bunch of football players, which sounds fun. I love a roommates situation. I love forced proximity situations, so I'm really excited to see how things play out. I'm sure I'm gonna just like devour this book really quickly because it's exactly what I need. Candy Steiner's writing is very to the point, which I appreciate. Already in the first 2 chapters, I've gotten so much context for Mary and her life. I know her relationship with her mom and dad. I know kind of what her high school experience is like. I know her desire to like have friends and be accepted. So honestly, so impressed already, and we're only 5% in, so I'm gonna keep reading and I will update you when I am farther in. Well, we're sniffing butts in here, I guess. It is like 7:30, I don't know. I'm like 50% into Hail Mary, and I wanted to update you because I'm having a good time. Actually, I think I'm more like 60% in. I've been working my way through it, so I'm liking it. It's a cute book. It's nothing that I'm like swooning over, but I am really liking our hero, and our heroine is frustrating to me, but like I am liking her more than Eliza from the last book, which is really all that I can ask for. I don't want to like spoil the like crux of the story because I don't know if it's in the synopsis of the story or what, but I can't tell if I liked or disliked the main conflict of the story. It actually got wrapped up by the midpoint of the book, which I appreciate. It didn't like get dragged out too long, but it was frustrating. I don't know. I think it's like kind of an important plot point. So I don't really want to spoil it, but there's something that happens at like 20% mark to the 50% mark of the book, and it's just frustrating as the reader, like wanting these two to communicate and like be honest with each other, and that not really happening. I don't think that there was like lying per se, because that's like a big no-no for me. You don't lie to your partner because I don't think that makes for a very good romance, but this doesn't really feel like that, so I can't tell if it's something that irritated me or not. I'm really not saying much, am I? What can I remark upon other than this like plot thing that was a little bit annoying to me? I'm really liking Leo's character. I know I already kind of said it, but the way that he has been obsessed with Mary since the beginning of the book has really been fantastic, and the fact that he loves her body, he loves her mind, he's really impressed with her tattooing, and he wants to like know more about her interests, I think is really great. It's sadly not that common, I feel like, in romance for the heroes to be that invested in like what the heroine's into. I don't know, like if a woman's like super into romance novels, sometimes the hero will like try to sympathize or like try to understand her, you know, passion for them, but a lot of the time they just like kind of tease the heroine. And I don't like that. Like I want the hero to really be into whatever the heroine's into, and that's definitely the case here. I definitely like the forced proximity situation. I feel bad for Mary, basically. The reason that she has to move in with Leo, did I even say that she moved in with Leo in the last clip? She moved in with Leo in college, and she does that because the house that she has been living in for a while that she's like renting unfortunately flooded, so she has to live with a bunch of football players. So just nice seeing her interact with the other football players. I really like sports romances because there is sort of like a found family aspect to it, and I just like having a lot of like fun side characters to play off of. I think it makes it more fun and can add to the tension sometimes. Like you get some jealousy aspects to it. So I mean, I don't have anything like super major to say. I'm trying to think of how this one compares to the other books in the series. I've only read 2, 3, and then this is 4. I have not read the first book in the series. That's tough for me. I liked Quarterback Sneak quite a bit. What was the second book called? I don't even know, to be honest. I think I've liked most of them fairly equally. I do think I liked the one with the heroine who was like into romance novels the most because it mimicked or mirrored some parts of like my romantic relationship, and I was like, oh, I get it, girl. This one's fun too. I like that this one feels a little bit less heavy than the last book. The last book in the series was a little bit heavy because of the things that the hero and heroine had gone through, so this feels nice to it's like a little bit escapist. Okay, anyway, I've been babbling and saying pretty much nothing. I'm gonna finish this book and then we can move on to Final Offer. The Final Offer? You know, the book. PJs on. That's how you know I mean business. All right, so I finished Hail Mary, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I liked it. I thought it was cute. It wasn't remarkable, I would say. It was just a really solidly written romance, and sometimes that's all I need. I don't need it to be like drop dead swoon worthy every single time. I mean, sure, like I would love every romance to be that way, but I think too often romances are either really bad, extremely mediocre, or they blow me away. And I feel like there needs to be like an in-between. I feel like this looks a little gross. I just think there needs to be an in-between. I feel like I need some more 4-star romances in my life, and this was just so good. I liked it. I had a really good time with it. The conflict at the end of the book, it felt pretty realistic to me. I wish it like had been handled a little bit better, but I felt like it was true to the characters, and I think their reactions were reasonable given their ages. I thought it was a sweet romance, and I really just like the series as a whole. It was also really nice in the epilogue getting to see all of the characters like have their extended happily ever afters, because I believe this is the last book in this 4-book series, and yeah, it was just really nice. I liked it. I recommend it. Highly recommend it, actually. I recommend you pick up this whole series. It's just a lot of fun, and I think there are not very many sports romances out there that are being published right now that I'm like, oh my god, you have to read it. You know, I feel like everybody recommends The Deal and Everything by Elle Kennedy, and like love that book, love that series. Off-Campus series is great, but I think if you love the Off-Campus series, you will love these books too. They're very well crafted, really good. 4 stars. Let's move on. Okay, let's talk about Final Offer because I don't know how I'm feeling about it. I'm 20% in, and this book, people definitely warned me that it was going to be different than the prior 2 books in the series, but I didn't realize quite how different. So the Dreamland Billionaire series, if you are uninitiated or unfamiliar, is about 3 billionaires who are the heirs essentially to a Disney-like throne. There's theme parks, there's streaming services, etc. So it's very much Disney, fictional Disney. And these 3 men are left an inheritance by their grandfather, who's essentially like the Walt Disney of the company. He passes away and he leaves each of the guys like shares in the company, titles at the company, if they are able to carry out specific tasks that he's left for each of them, challenges his grandsons to overcome that are very specific to their own like foibles and like, you know, internal battles that they need to face. So in this book, we follow Cal, who is the middle brother and the one that I was most excited to read about because he is so different than the eldest and youngest brothers. They're very grumpy, very stoic, very like uptight businessmen, and Cal is not like that. He is definitely, when I think of him, I think of Roman from Succession. If you've seen Succession, you know what I'm talking about. Definitely doesn't really take life seriously, and he struggles with addiction, so he's kind of got some issues. I guess I just didn't anticipate how much addiction would play into the story. So Cal's task is that he is going to go back to the childhood lake house that he used to go to like visit his grandfather. At that lake house, he ended up meeting his like long-term girlfriend, who he ended up hooking up with in like a shitty way. I don't know the details of it, but he ends up leaving her. There's like kind of a flashback scene there. We don't know like their true history, but we know that he broke up with her and just kind of like left her. Something to do with his addiction, I'm assuming. But he needs to go back to that lake house, which challenging because that woman that he broke up with is still staying at the house. Her mother used to take care of the house. She used to be the housekeeper, I believe. She is a part owner of the house as well. So Cal, like part of his thing is that he's going to sell the house within a year, but he can't really do that because she's living there and she doesn't want to sell. So he's got to try to find a way to convince her and also like find a way to work together with her, even though she's pissed off at him. him. And it's complicated as well because there's a child involved. Definitely darker than I had wanted or anticipated, though I am finding little nuggets that I am enjoying in the story. It's definitely very well written. I think that getting into this book has been easier than the prior two books, which I really appreciate. Thrown into the action, you know what you're gonna get. And we're getting a lot of insight into Cal's head. We have gotten, I think, a point of view or two from Alana, the woman that's staying in the house, the ex-girlfriend or whatever. But Cal's POV chapters, I would say, are the dominant ones in this first part of the book, and they are heavy. This man struggles with addiction. He's been to rehab before, and he is still in the throes of addiction. Seeing how much this man hates himself and how much he is struggling is, I mean, it's challenging to read about. I would definitely not recommend picking this book up if that's something that's, you know, sensitive to you. I'm sure that you can probably pick up on that on your own, but just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I'm impressed with the author's care that she's taking with the story, and also the way that she is representing the ways in which Cal is treated and how that affects the ways that he reacts. His brothers don't have a lot of respect for him. His father doesn't have a lot of respect for him, never nurtured him. Not that that's an excuse for his behavior, but it is interesting to see how everyone's kind of counted him out, and it doesn't seem like anyone really thinks that he can amount to anything. Unlike the other brothers, he's not found success in his life in any regard, so he's really downtrodden, and yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to be reading about. Not uplifting, not fun, but definitely different. So I don't know, I'm curious to see where this one goes. I selfishly wanted this hero to have a more fun story because he is the fun brother, but I do think it makes a lot of sense that this is kind of the path that this book is taking, so I'm choosing not to be upset at that. I'm choosing to take it for what it is and just like go with it. I do tend to like a self-loathing hero. We'll see. All right, it's late and I'm sleepy. Let me give you my 40% update on Final Offer. I am struggling a little bit here because I think that most people are redeemable and deserving of love. However, I think it is hard to think about how this is going to work out because our heroine has people in her life who are addicts, and she also is trying to stay away from Cal, who is an addict. I just wonder how this is going to work out because I can't see her love being what redeems him. That shouldn't be what redeems him. Other people can't be the reason for your sobriety, so it is a little bit worrisome where things are going. I mean, she has not said like, oh, I want to help you. She's not like mothering him or anything. It's not like the woman is the savior, but I just worry that that will be the case. I'm only 40% in, so I don't want to say that that's like definitely what's going to happen, but it is definitely like in my mind. It's something that I've been thinking about, and I really hope that that's not the case. Like, I hope that there's some sort of time jump, goes back to rehab, he stays sober for a year plus before he tries to pursue this woman. Don't really foresee that being the case. So I'm going to continue reading this. This is going to be my bedtime story, so hopefully it lives up to that. All right, friends, I finished Final Offer. I actually do have a physical copy of this book. It's just been upstairs because I've been reading the Kindle version, and I actually ended up really enjoying this book. I was really unsure, again, of how the addiction talk would go. I was, of course, kind of worried about how the addiction representation would be and also how that would play into the relationship. I personally felt like our hero's addiction journey was handled pretty well. I don't struggle with addiction personally, so I can't really speak to whether or not this was like perfect representation, but I liked that our hero decided that he wanted to get help and go to rehab for himself rather than to be with our heroine. That was obviously a motivating factor for him, but he was really seeking to love himself and to help himself, and I thought that that was good. That's definitely what I was looking for and what I was worried about, but I think it was handled pretty well, and I liked this book. I thought the romance was really heartfelt. It was hard seeing our hero mess up a couple of times, but I think he had a really good heart, and I don't know, I liked this. I feel like this is a 4-star read for me. Surprised, to be honest, that Final Offer and Hail Mary were 4-star reads. Can I tell you a secret? I was looking at my planner today and I realized actually that Hail Mary was not one of the books I was supposed to be reading for this video. I goofed. I was actually supposed to be reading the new Lucy Score book. What is it? Like Things We Hide from the Light, or I don't know, something like that. I was supposed to be reading that one and I didn't. But you know what? I'm glad because Hail Mary was a win and so was Final Offer. I didn't dislike or like hate Do I Know You, but it was a little bit of a bummer that this was like so anticipated and not my favorite. But you know what? I like when things surprise me, and I would say that this did surprise me. I went in a little bit nervous. 20% in, I was extra nervous, and then I think it turned itself around. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think the series as a whole is a really fun one. I feel like I don't talk about the series very much on my channel. I did really like Terms and Conditions. I still think that's my favorite one. I gave it 5 stars. Fine Print's not my favorite. I think I gave that 3 stars, but I think depending on what you're looking for, what tropes and what kinds of characters you like, I think you can find pretty much anything in this series. I liked it. I just think it's fun. I mean, I'm not like a Disney adult necessarily, but I don't think you have to be a Disney adult to like these books. But that is it. Those are all of the new releases that I've read over the past couple of days. Obviously, you were here for the journey with me. I hope this was entertaining in some way. In the comments down below, I would love to know what new releases you are most excited about, what new releases lived up to the hype for you. And I know I mentioned that Lucy Square book that I was supposed to read for this video and didn't. I think I'm going to throw that into a KU reading vlog for next month. So definitely stay tuned for that if you want to hear my thoughts and feelings on it. I'm hoping that that one goes well because I didn't love that first book, Things We Never Got Over, but I think Things We Hide from the Light might be redemptive. Everybody says they love Lucy Score, and I feel like I just need to hop on the Lucy Score bandwagon and like give her another try. So I'll be doing that again sometime next month. But thank you so much for watching this video. I love y'all so much, and until next time.